He who controls the past controls the future. That line was used a few years back in an episode of X-Files dedicated to the Mandela effect. It's a quote from George Orwell's book 1984, used to remind us, even back then, that it's important to identify the source of information we receive. This brings me to my topic today. Even if you have never heard the term Mandela effect, I'm sure you have all once thought to yourself, well, that's not at all how I remember that to be. Or, well, of course Mickey Mouse wears red suspenders. There are hundreds of examples online, full forums dedicated to the subject, and even more recently a namesake movie out in 2019. When I first sat down to write about this, I looked up the proper definition to read aloud to you, and one of the top search results was the following. The Mandela effect is an observed phenomenon in which a large segment of the population misremembers a significant event or shares a memory that did not occur, basically boiling down to people honestly lying to themselves, is what they're saying. Funny how skewed that definition is already, bringing a negative connotation to it, telling you that as a large majority of the population, your memories are wrong. This has been debunked. The whole thing is solved. These are passed off as group hallucinations, where we are all misremembering because the human memory is so fallible. Why are we all misremembering the same details, though? Why are you told you're in the wrong, and who gets to decide that for you? The term Mandela effect was coined by Fiona Broome in 2009 when she attended a conference and found a significant number of people, like herself, sharing a memory of Nelson Mandela's death in the 80s, remembering crying as they watched the funeral procession on TV, remembering the wife's eulogy to her dead husband. At the time of this conference, Mandela was still alive and would not pass for another 4 years. How was it that a group of random people put together by chance all had the same memories of a huge historic event that never took place? And so the phenomenon had received its name. People may ascribe the Mandela effect to glitches in the matrix, dimensional rifts, black holes. There are other worlds than these, we are told. But my theory on this phenomenon, to me at least, seems like it's man-made, something that is happening to us because it's being manipulated into happening. Everyone who is alive and of a certain age at the time can remember where they were and what they were doing when JFK was shot. Some people's memories may include sitting there as a small child in front of a TV, eating a Jiffy peanut butter sandwich, watching the parade, and hearing the shots ring out. Now, as an adult, you notice a funny little joke online about how it never was called Jiffy peanut butter, and it always was Jif. Now your memory has changed, or it's been changed for you. If you can't even remember your favorite food, maybe you're also wrong about where those other bullets came from. It may seem like an extreme comparison, but I refer you back to the opening line. He who controls the past controls the future. It now seems like he who changes the past now changes the future. Changing a small part of one's memory can in turn change the past and influence its future. It's confusion by design. Let's take a look at the infamous fruit of the Loom cornucopia. I don't believe there is any deep, dark shadow government controlling an underwear company, but there may be other reasons for small changes such as these. Why do more than half the population who had worn this brand or knew of the logo remember, without any doubt, there being a cornucopia there? Asking their parents what the brown thing was in the picture because they were either too young to know the word or had not seen one before. Cornucopias are not usually associated with fruit and is more of a fall or Thanksgiving harvest decoration, so it stood out even more on the label and was noticed by many. There was an article I came across where the actor who played the grapes, Samuel Wright, was interviewed. He mentioned in an offhand way, maybe not understanding the significance of his words at the time, that initially it was the cornucopia, swollen with an apple, green grapes, purple grapes, and our leaves. He did anywhere from 120 to 140 commercials over 19 years for Fruit of the Loom. The man who did almost 140 commercials was wrong? The grapes themselves were misremembering a logo that they were actually part of. It sounds strange to say, well, the grapes said, and expect anyone to take the rest of your argument as valid. But that's my whole point of bringing this specific one up. Hearing people say things like, I heard it from the grapes, or, oh, I know Sinbad played a genie. I loved that movie when I was a kid. That makes anything else they may recall automatically disqualified as false, misinformed, laughed at. You don't remember a second shooter being there. How could you when you don't even remember what your own underwear looked like? And so in this way, it is used to slowly erase history. The Mandela effect takes on a greater magnitude now. Changing such a small part of the collective memory, such as a book, a movie, even how Captain Crunch is spelled, can make you question yourself and your known memories. It makes people look at you sideways. It makes you wrong and it makes them right. It creates a group of people almost looked down upon, seeming to be frothing at the mouth, ranting about how they changed the Berenstain Bears. A group of people who aren't buying this retelling of their history. Typing this up, even the Word document I used changed the spelling to Berenstain Bears to how it thinks it should be, not how I remember it to be. Can you tell me that there has never been any events in our time that have had its account changed after the fact to benefit someone or something in the future? It starts as what we perceive to be small recollections here and there, and gradually builds until historic events, such as wars and terrorist attacks. What we see on TV every day, what is shown to us online, is orchestrated to what they want us to see, what they want us to remember, and what they want us to believe. I have no name for they when I use that term. I don't believe these all can be attributed to a government-based plot to control and distort events in history. There are companies, businesses, letter agencies that wield more power today than any government ever did. And the manipulations are getting easier and easier to pull off in a digital age, where the older forms of tangible media, such as DVDs, newspapers, Polaroids, they disappear. And we rely on the internet for our information daily, which can change instantly with one push of a button. Listening to me now comparing JFK to peanut butter, cornucopias to historic events, it may sound over the top. I'll go as so far to use the term crazy, as that's the catch-all for these types of ideas. But we have never, as a society, shunned or discarded groups of people for not conforming, for thinking differently, for not following their leader. Back in 1692, if you were found lifting something that deemed too heavy for you to lift in someone else's eyes, you were accused of sorcery and put to death for witchcraft. This has always been done through time. Stay in your lane along with everyone else. Think and remember what we tell you is right, or be put to death, which nowadays is a figurative death, labeled as a conspiracy theorist, a fanatic. Your credibility gets torn to shreds because you dare question the common narrative, because you have memories of it a different way, and a lot of others do too. Something you thought you knew, something so simple as a monocle brought up in a conversation throws you for a loop. So you, like everyone else does, you go online and you look it up, and boom, the Monopoly man doesn't have a monocle. Never was there, everyone says. Who's to say who is right? Who are we as a people to tell someone who grew up playing this game, weekends on end with friends and family, that their memory is never the way they knew it to be? I do understand some Mandela effects may occur through misremembering something we may have been too young to understand at the time, or mix up images to form a new one and it became a memory in our heads. I can't refute that happening, as I can say for myself that it's happened from time to me. We can also take into consideration shoddy newspaper sources, jokes taken seriously, or photoshopped images finding their way into the public's consciousness. What I am getting at today is this. We cannot discount altogether a someone, a something, however you want to call it, behind the scenes who has the ability to change the record of our collective past memories, to instill in us doubt over events to what they need them to be, in effect to change the past, to control the future. I do know that every day more and more articles, witnesses, video footage is coming out telling us things that were redacted, hid, or just plain lied to us about in the past. So to think that maybe, just maybe, Nelson Mandela did die in jail, but with growing unrest and civil war in South Africa, they found someone nearly identical to Mandela, and he stepped out of those prison doors just when he was needed the most, to help negotiate, to help end apartheid and change whole generations of memories as we knew them. With all we know that can be done, and all we know that has been done, is that really that much of a stretch to believe?